Hey guys, this is Ben. Welcome back to the channel. Pixar's newest film, Turning Red, has released, and though this review is a little bit late, I still want to do a quick review and give you my thoughts of the movie. Set in 2002 Toronto, Turning Red follows Mei Li, a 13-year-old Chinese-Canadian student who transforms into a giant red panda when she gets into a state of strong emotion. I've been very excited for this movie, very much looking forward to this movie ever since it was announced. Number one, just because it's a Pixar movie, and I love Pixar, I love everything they put out. They're my favorite movie studio working today, and also because it takes place in Canada. It's a Disney Pixar animated movie that takes place in Canada, in Toronto, which is really close to where I live, about a girl growing up in the early 2000s. That was my era. So for many reasons, and also the synopsis and the concept for this movie looked like a lot of fun as well. And in that aspect, this movie was so much fun, just picking out all the little Canadian Easter eggs. Like, if you're a Canadian, you will notice so many little things, like even just like animated Timbits and little Canada Post mailboxes, and obviously you have the Sky Dome and the CN Tower and Toronto overall, brought to life through this really beautiful animation. So aside from all those funny Canadian references, I also just really like this movie as a whole. I thought that Turning Red was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed myself while watching it. It's the most different, the most unique, and the most stylish film that we've ever seen them do. Everything from the animation to the story feels really fresh and new, and I really like that about it. It's also another very personal story from Pixar. This is kind of a trend that's been happening at Pixar as of late. When you consider Onward, which is a very personal story from director Dan Scanlon about him and his brother and their relationship with their father. Then you have Luca, which takes place in the director Enrico Casarosa's like hometown and kind of reflects his childhood and him growing up in Italy. And now you have Turning Red, which is very much so inspired by Domi Shi's childhood, her growing up in Toronto, her relationship with her mother, and just her experiences growing up. And though they take these personal stories and they add some fantastical elements to them, they're very much rooted in these personal stories. There's a lot that I quite like about this approach. It kind of allows the films to feel a bit more authentic, because it's a true story. It's a very personal story to these filmmakers, and you can tell that they were able to execute what they wanted to see, and they kind of had full control over their vision for the movie. And I wasn't the hugest fan of Luca from last year. I enjoyed the movie, I did, but it was just a film that I felt lacked something. There wasn't enough substance for me to latch onto. There wasn't enough with its story. It was a very simple story. It was a breezy story. It was an easy watch, but there wasn't really enough for me to grasp onto. And this story is very much in line with that, in that it's a simple story, and it doesn't really dive into like psychological messages that Pixar has before and kind of has you questioning your life, basically. But not every Pixar film needs to do that, and I think this film did a much better job than even Luca did in accomplishing a simple story, but one that has a lot of heart to it, a lot of personality, a lot of character, a lot of stylistic differences between other Pixar films that really allows it to stand out. Even though those Pixar films that kind of dive into your psyche do end up impacting me more and have a bit more of a punch and a lasting effect, these types of stories I do really quite enjoy every once in a while, for sure. And it's a nice kind of change of pace for the studio. So like I said, this film is very stylish. It's loud, it's big, it's in your face, and it's a lot of fun. It takes inspiration from anime in a lot of ways, and because of that, they're able to have a lot more like expressive animation and visual gags and things like that, which is not something we've seen many times from Pixar before. They have a pretty similar and consistent animation style and kind of animated boundaries that they set for themselves that this film kind of breaks, and that was really fun to see. The animators were able to have a lot of fun here, and you can tell. I also just think that if you're gonna do this kind of style with any movie, it perfectly suits this story. Like, they really go hand in hand. It matches the the energy of these characters and May herself, which is very true to how girls act and how a lot of people act when growing up and when they're 13. So I think it was definitely a good story to do this kind of style with, and it kind of takes what maybe would have been a bit more of a basic kind of visual palette and style and kind of elevates it to a new level. Director Domi Shi also has a strong presence here, which is not always the case with animated movies. She has a very distinct style and brings a lot of stylistic choices to this movie through her direction. It's really well directed, a really well directed animated movie, and it's because of her that this film is as fun and energetic as it is. She really nails the tone and style she was going for, and I'm really excited to see what she does next. As for my criticisms, I do think that the story maybe gets a bit over the top and loses some of its heart in the third act. And the overall message and plot can feel a bit unfocused and messy at times, but the movie wraps up in such a satisfying way that I can overlook my criticisms, and maybe I will enjoy those aspects of this movie, the bit more of the over-the-top and supernatural elements of this movie a bit more on rewatch now that I kind of know what to expect. But on first viewing, those elements didn't really hit as well with me, and they felt maybe a little bit out of place. But then again, that kind of wild, drastic creative decision and over-the-top nature of the third act does kind of fit in line with what the style of this film was in the first place, so in some ways I don't really mind. So overall, Turning Red is the most unique Pixar film yet that is simple and personal, but so much fun and super stylish, making for a more than worthy entry into the Pixar library. Turning Red gets a solid 4 out of 5. Alright, so that was it for my review. I hope you guys enjoy. Let me know your thoughts of Turning Red down in the comment section below. This one seems to be a little bit more divisive than Pixar's most recent movie, so I'm very interested to know what you thought. Subscribe to the channel and like this video if you're still watching at this point. Thank you very much. Follow me over on Twitter and Letterboxd, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.